So our good friend, Dustin Phillips, go Dustin, he literally came over, I want to say he was here for 10 minutes, because we've been friends on the wonderful world of Zoom and of FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. It's the first time I physically actually met him. So thank you, Dustin, for coming by and playing that groove. So now what I'll do is I want to play along with it. Got a lovely Telecaster here, but to really show off the iD24, it's not really just a case of like it's another affordable, amazing sounding unit. As you know, we all love the mic pre's. In fact, that's kind of become a fact. They won an award for the mic pre's that goes into their units. They're some of the best sounding mic pre's on the market, and in the price range, there's nothing better. So here's my lovely Carl Martin Rode amp with a telly. Just great sounding. Clean as a whistle, but just tons of tone. So the mic pre's doing an amazing job of it. Now I'm just going to hit the gain just a little bit harder. Deliberately pushing it, because I'm going to show off one of the great things about this simple, small unit, and that is I can run send and return out of here. So I'm coming out from the mic pre, and then sending to the 260, and then returning here, going into the converter. So what that means is just like using a mic pre inline through compression, just like you would in any situation through a large format console. But as you can tell, it's rather compact. So let's bring down threshold. You notice what's immediately happening now is that reverb that was barely in there is now coming up on the tail of every one of those hits. And I'm getting that beautiful kind of attack exaggerated. So what I'm saying is, for guys like me, it means that I can get exactly the same experience I would using any hardware, but in a unit that's what, size of my hand? And of course, big shout out to Audioscape for making probably the cleanest sounding 160, well, stereo pair of 160s. So really fantastic unit. And bearing in mind that 90% of what I record is one mic, maybe a stereo, I mean, this really does the job perfectly. So let's have a listen to Dustin's loop. Nice. You know what? I didn't even cut it to a click. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to Option R. For those of you that are Pro Tools user will know that is just repeat. So if I sit and go 120, that's it. We're done. I've now created 120 2-bar, well, it's not 2-bar loops. It's actually 8-bar loop. Let's track. So I'm just going to jam until I find a groove of something I like. I actually like that first thing I did straight away, which is usually what happens before I start thinking about it too much. That's awesome. Says the man, like, oh, that's awesome. I'm so great. So I'm just gonna willy-nilly just copy that across and see if it even lines up and feels good, because we can cut this to a click. So it could be absolute genius or it could be total disaster. Both of which I'm happy to go with. That's what I love about doing this. Just the first idea can sometimes just be the best one. And also it's a little late where it's supposed to be late, and it's a little early where it's supposed to be early. All of those things are things I love. So just copy that across. Okay, so definitely the groove has changed there. So it's not going to work perfectly. Yeah. Okay, so that's fine. So I should replay that part, or maybe do a different form in that last section. I love everything that's going on so far. On this fourth one, I'll do something different. So to be honest, because these loops are identical everywhere, I am just going to go in and replay. It's a great combination, the amp, the mic pre's, and the compressor. I do love printing with compression on. I know these days there's a lot of encouragement to save it till later, but the extra attack, because it's got a slightly slower attack time going on at the moment, on this sort of 4:1, it feels really good. It's exaggerating those, you know, pap, pap, pap that's coming through, which is making it inspirational and making me play differently. So I'm a big fan of printing with compression. So I like that a lot. So much so that I actually want that to be an overdub. That's the way my brain works. So I'm going to take that, Shift, Option D, which is duplicate tracks, and go down and paste it here. So this is now the original idea with the new one. Don't like that second half of the original track, so that's going. So I think what I'm going to do is do a combo platter and keep the second half of the new one with the first half of the old one. I'm inspired by using hardware. You don't have to, but if you've got it and you do just happen to have a nice compressor sitting around, why the heck not? Yeah, that's a wonderful combination. So first of all, bass is beautiful, Yamaha, totally affordable. Going into the Acme DI, which is the Jameson, you know, the Motown DI with a huge fat transformer in it. I mean, and then of course we're going into the mic pre, which is capturing everything, and going into this beautiful compressor. Low end for days. I don't need to do any more. I'm compressing it pretty heavily. But isn't that kind of the beauty of a hardware compressor? I'm always afraid when tracking, if I do have some, dare I say, like UAD style plugins, I love them when I'm mixing, but I'm a little afraid to hit them really hard on the way in. So having this ability to come into some of our favorite hardwares, that's a great bass sound. Okay, here's the amp on its own. I'm enjoying a lot of compression on the DI and a little bit less on the amp, which makes some sense. The amp's going to round out some of those transients. So let's see how the phases with the two together. That's a little squirrely, isn't it? So print. Okay, so quite a few short kind of notes there. Yeah, so as is typical, phase is a little wonky. We could delay that signal somewhat, but I don't think it's going to be absolutely perfect. Well, maybe. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great. And this is very, very typical between amp and DI. So I'm actually going to delay the DI, which obviously is going to come in a lot quicker than the amp, quite considerably. I'm not going to do it by moving the file. You could do that later. I'm just going to get delay compensation, measuring this in samples. It's saying quite hefty, actually. It's saying 289, so 289, night and day. Take it off. Back on. Yeah, I mean, you can mess around with it a bit more afterwards. There's fancy tools and plugins that do stuff. But generally speaking, you can hear all the low end came back in that. It's much, much better. All right, I'm just going to mess around, play some bass against this guitar line. So there's like loads of different ideas there. If I'm going to do that long, that's going to need to come in occasionally and not be the main motif. But I think it could be cool, especially if I occasionally doubled it with an electric guitar. And if I had Earth, Wind and Fire horns, it could be that would be a nice horn line as well, wouldn't it? Eric, do you have a horn section standing outside? I wasn't sure that was Eric imitating a horn, or maybe him letting some wind pass through or something. I don't know what's going on there. I think I like this. Bam, 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 bam. So that could be the first motif. Really simple. One of my favorite bass lines is actually Mama Said by Lenny Kravitz, and it's literally, that's it. Great bass line. Here's what's interesting. I like the way I played the that first groove better on the last time I played it. So let's just cheat, because that's the beauty of digital. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, copy that. So I just pasted that in there. And this might be the part. So I'm just going to loop that together, see how it feels. Yeah, it's nice. I think for a quick writing demo, do the job, that's great. So I'm going to go back and get a slightly heavier guitar part and just pick up just a couple of those riffs that we can fly around. So this is interesting. This is a GHS overdrive pedal, which frankly sounds more like a fuzz pedal. Which might be perfect for this kind of 60s, 70s retro. Now bear in mind, the amp is clean as a whistle, so that's probably what it is. So if I turn it off. Yeah, normally I would have the amp with a bit more crunch, but I think I'm enjoying this. So I'm going to print a DI, and then with the lead guitar itself, this 260 is really soaking up some of that highs and making it super spongy. Again, an advertisement for being able to use hardware. Yeah, this is going to be fun. All right, so what I need to do is bring up that djembe. We're getting to a point now, we've done so many overdubs. That's a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the parts that work where I'm doubling and then mute them and use them wherever I like. So occasionally it can double up. At the moment, I'll probably paste it across the whole thing and then mute it. And then when Steve adds his kind of vocal ideas and his clavinet, I'll pick and choose where I want to use the lead parts.